you can write. Oh, is it just now?
Yeah.
Should I start over?
Okay.
So what we were talking about is there's so much, the program that we have is so diverse. It fits in so many different venues, you know, drug rehab, schools, prisons. I've been in 10 countries with it. It's just amazing. And I always, when I'm talking about relationships, what really hooks people, I say it's like a garden. You have to take care of it. You have to nurture it. You have to tend it. You can't just let it go on itself. Otherwise, weeds start to grow, whether it's relationships with your children, your best friends, your relatives, or an intimate partner. You really need to tend it just like you would a garden. And, or even goldfish. You know, have you ever had an aquarium? Oh my gosh, it's so much work. You know, sometimes people can say that way about relationships. So this is a slide we did last week, how lasting love must be created. And that's kind of my point. Having a realistic view of each other. Don't focus on what you don't like about each other. Focus on what you have in common. And having a shared view of right and wrong, having things you like to do together. It's good to have your own independent hobbies and things you do maybe with other friends, but it's important that you blend with each other, that you actually enjoy it. You know, like some women that complain about their husbands watching sports on TV, I just feel like, are you nuts? You know, let him watch his sports, you know, be a cheerleader, say, honey, can I get you some pretzels? You want some ice cream? Have your buddies over. You know, I'd say life is a point system. Focus more on the internal traits, not the external. It's more lasting and constant, giving, sacrificial, your other interests prosper. When you're in a healthy relationship, your other interests prosper. It's patient and also leads in good directions. But this one phrase, I hope you have a pen or a pencil, write this down. Romance junkie. Romance junkie. Junkie, of course, is somebody who usually we refer to as drugs. They got to get their fix in order to settle down. Well, I used to be a news junkie. I'm an information junkie for sure. I really love to get information. I love to look up stuff in the dictionary, online. I like facts. Even my personal opinions are based on research. So romance junkie, because when I talk about this in school, I find because young people especially, but adults as well, everything's about emotions, your feelings, your emotions. And that's why sometimes their relationships don't last, because it's all about, oh, just so excited. I'm just thinking about them. I just can't wait to get to school and be with them. But then once that rush, it's phenylethylamine, norepinephrine, dopamine. These are natural drugs. People smoking pot, drinking alcohol, they're getting the fake chemical high that normally you can get from your own. Like when you really achieve something, say you really study hard for a test and you go, oh man, no way am I going to pass this. And you pass it, not only pass it, you get a good grade, you get a rush. It's like you can't wait to do some more. You can get it. I was addicted to college. I loved getting straight A's. And again, I didn't graduate till 2014. So romance junkie, they're always looking for the next fix. They're really not in a relationship. They can say, I love you, yo quiero mucho, I love you so much. But they're just speaking from that dopamine high. And once that it naturally goes away, that's when your relationship is supposed to really, you know, be where you actually invest in it instead of just coasting. I call it the fuzzy wuzzies. So romance junkie, they're always, they like this new partner. Now I'm not feeling you anymore. I want this new partner. And then if they're being sexually active, well, of course, you're getting STDs, unwanted pregnancy, and a host of other psychological, emotional, and physical problems that you didn't count on. So romance junkie, kids, it kind of solves a lot of the mystery and their problems when they understand people are addicted to the high of new relationships. So we also did the nice music video by Music. That was really great. And we talked about why marriage is important. Can you really feel loved and secure in an uncommitted relationship when that person can leave at any time? There's nothing With marriage, not that marriage is perfect. That's why we really have to invest in finding out a lot about this person. How do they resolve differences? How do they fight fair? You know, all of these kind of things. With a marriage, it used to be a promise. If you shake hands on something, it's a done deal. Well, marriage was supposed to be the same way. That's why a lot of people, they'd almost faint at the altar because it was so real. And if you just know that this person could, like if you're just living together, they can leave at any time. They can cheat on you. I mean, it's an open field. There's no commitment. They haven't said publicly, I'm with you forever and you're with me forever and I'm never going to hurt you, you know? So this is from Harville Hendricks. He's a very famous psychologist and relationship educator. Said the ingredients necessary for full growth and healing, because a lot of us need healing from previous relationships or how we were raised even. Attention, concentration, security time, deepest intimacy, and the full mirroring of ourselves. This means when you're in a relationship, you see how you are. You see who you are through that relationship, how you're affecting somebody and things like this. So they're only possible in a marriage. We cannot heal ourselves. We cannot heal in an open-ended, precarious relationship. That means it's kind of off balance a lot. So married couples have less stress. I know a lot of people say, whoa, I don't think that's true. Marriage has gotten such a bad name. In the 50s and even early 60s, the majority of people, especially women, felt very satisfied in marriage and their relationships. It wasn't until the crazy 60s with all the wild cheating and things like this that things did not get better. You cannot say relationships became better when people started really doing a lot of bed hopping, a lot of multiple partners. So this study said that married individuals have lower levels of stress hormones. They can test you for this cortisol, and they have lower stress hormones than those who were never married or who were previously married. In other words, married and divorced or something like this, or married and there was a death. So somehow the shared responsibilities, that skin touch relationship, even it's not sexual, but just being able to come together, put your arms around each other, hold hands, kiss each other, hug, you know, it really reduces the stress. So prolonged stress is associated with increased levels of cortisol, which can interfere with the body's regulation of inflammation. Thus it's promoting the development of many diseases. So it's stress, as we know. Stress causes a lot of how our body deals with its immune system and disease and things like this. And healthy marriages really helps that. And that's why people, if they're just a little bored in their relationship, it is such a shame when they choose to cheat or they just want to, you know, they think the grass is greener on the other side. And people really need to think about what that phrase means. What does it mean? The grass is never greener. It's always greener on the other side. So if you see fields and you're looking at a distance, oh, it looks so green over there. But as you approach it, you see the weeds, you see the bare spots, the brown. You know, so the same thing with relationships. When they're far away, oh, they look so great. Everybody else is having fun but me, right? So all of this, again, is based on research. And one of the deepest experiences of sacrificial love comes through parenting. The more you give, the more love you feel. You may not even get sleep. I remember my oldest daughter and son-in-law, I would babysit during the day, and they would both come home from work up the stairs, and they looked exhausted, like they just wanted to go to bed, but they got to cook dinner, bathe the kids, all of this stuff. And I could see because they're not sleeping, but do they love their children? And their children love them so much. So it's that sacrificial, unconditional love. You don't feel that's what you're giving, but it really is. And anybody who's had a newborn knows you're just not born a parent. You just don't have these intense maternal and paternal feelings. It's not sleeping, about worrying, oh my gosh, they're choking, or, always attending those needs. And as they grow up, that's what really bonds us. So it's that quiet heroism. This is actually a picture of a husband and wife who perished in the Twin Tower 9/11 disaster. Such a beautiful and happy family, but they were they died that day. And what does it say? This so agape love is in Greek, it means it's more like a parental love. Many people call this the deepest experience, and it provides us with a chance to discover a higher dimension of love. Many people who have children say that becoming a parent allowed them to experience this deepest form of love. When somebody is very serious about their marriage, like say a males always get a bad rap. But when they get married and they have children, their lives change. I'm telling you, because I'm mostly dealing with young guys and older ones who just feel like the way that you show you're a man is having many sex partners, being a player. But the ones, when they settle down and they become a parent, they finally become a man. They finally are growing up because they're stopping fooling around. And if they have daughters, forget about it. No guy is going near their daughter. It's so interesting. So this quiet heroism, children's benefit, not just by having a parent or two parents, but it's the acceptance of their mother and their father, their parents, both parents accepting the children. It really affects them in deep ways. So children who actually felt accepted, because you figure a teenage mother, she might have the best mother in the world, but she's dealing with just growing up, relationships, and all of these things. And a lot of times the child gets in the way. Is the child really feeling accepted? Oftentimes I see these young children just treated like a toy. How cute they're dressed. They got Timberlands, they got this, they got that. It's kind of really sad. They find that those children who feel accepted by their mother and their father, they feel less hostility or aggression. They have more healthy independence. Not like, hey, I can do this, get away. It's, I can stand on my own 2 feet, but I still need my parents. Positive self-esteem. They don't really need to look to others to be accepted or affirmed or affirmation. They have positive self-adequacy. They know they can, if they keep trying, they can accomplish something. They have emotional stability. It's not this rocky road. They can actually regulate their emotions. They'll get angry, they'll get happy, they'll get sad, but they can regulate it. They can actually deal with it. They have emotional responsiveness, and they also have a positive worldview. They do not feel it's a dog-eat-dog world. I heard this expression in the store today. The rich keep getting richer and the poor keeps getting poorer. Well, why? A lot of times it has to do with choices people make. It's not always just greed or something like this. So again, this is a meta-analysis. This means they took many research projects that were very similarly, they were looking for this information, and they combined all of them, and that is what they found out through looking at many, many research projects. This was the common thing that they found out, that how important the acceptance of mother and the father is to the child. And also a good relationship with the fathers really helps the sons learn how to deal with stress. I cannot emphasize enough. I work in cities where the father is just not present. I'll have 3 generations of females, wonderful women, but there's never been a husband in the house. And then it's easier for, excuse me?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's easier for predator to come, like even an uncle or somebody like this, to take advantage of the child. So a lot of times they'll get a fill-in father, a teacher or a coach or something, which is great, but it's not the same thing. So numerous studies show the unique impact of father-son relationships. This is a study from 2010. at the Convention of American Psychological Association found out that men who recalled having a good relationship with their fathers, they themselves reported having a better ability to deal with stress. So they asked these men, and those men who said, yes, I had a good relationship with my father, the study also found that men and women who recalled having a good relationship with their mothers and fathers reported better mental well-being. Because how can a single parent do it all by themselves? We know that things happen, divorce, death in the family. We understand that, but there's too many babies in America. Over 50% of our babies are born outside of marriage. And that's really sad. And a lot of them is not the teenagers. Teenagers have gone down. A lot of times it's females when they get their college degree, or they just say, oh, they feel like having a baby is an accomplishment, but not by yourself. And then how about the father? A lot of guys don't understand. You're going to have to pay child support because they will find you. And why girls need their fathers? I'm telling you, I learn a lot from the kids. They said, look for the girls with daddy issues. And those are the girls that older guys try to find out, because it's going to be much easier to have sex with them, much easier to manipulate them. If you don't do what I want, I'm leaving you. And it's really easy. And in Africa, I know they were called sugar daddies. And that's how a lot of young girls got HIV and AIDS. So to know that you're worthy to be loved by a man. She doesn't have to go to other guys to get a hug and feeling her value, because her father is giving her healthy love. You're beautiful. You're my daughter. You're my princess. You are worthy to be loved by a man in a real way. So it's very interesting, the research. Also, feeling secure in their own inherent value, they are less likely to seek love in the arms of a teenage lover and are more able to wait until they're older to establish love relationships or marriage. Research has even found that girls living with their natural fathers are half as likely to start menstruating at an early age. If they're not living with their father, they're more likely to start menstruating at much younger ages. So also then we're dealing with fatherless families. Believe it or not, there's been a 700% increase in unmarried births since the 1960s. People say it's no big deal, but I remember in my sociology class, I showed you before, the bar graph, reasons for poverty. Race was not there. It wasn't a part of, it was like 7 things. It was dropping out of high school and single female head of household. Like the other graphs were here, those other 2 were way out there, and it's a lot. 4 out of 10 United States births are to unmarried women. Single mothers work twice as hard, and I always tell the kids, single mothers are the hardest working people in America, because I don't want, we're just giving them facts. We're not judging people, but some people can feel judged because I assume over 80% of my audience, it has a single mother, or maybe even their grandmother taking care of them. And I said, we all know the single mothers are the hardest working people in America. And I'll see the young children, their heads going up and down. I says, but when you're a teenager, do you want to be the hardest working person in America, or do you want to have fun? Children have less contact with their fathers and less financial support. Honestly speaking, I mean, a teenage kid, how much support is he going to give? He will get his paycheck deducted, not just till the baby turns 21, but as long as that child is going to college, and I think living at home too, the father will have to pay until the age of 25. I had a teacher in my class, he says, thank goodness my child turned 25 this year, and I don't have, because he got married and he has other kids to take care of, but because he's being responsible. Otherwise, they go to jail too. The rates of poverty among single parent families where the mother never married is 6 times higher than the poverty rate among families with 2 married parents. The facts are what they are. When you take everything out, that was the common denominator there, that the single mother is 6 times more likely to be living in poverty, raising her child in poverty. And because a lot of men do not want to marry a ready-made family, like maybe when she's in her 40s or 50s, more likely, and the kids are more grown. But when the child really needs a father, they don't want a ready-made family, because also the baby's father is lurking in the shadows someplace, saying you can't be with, my woman, even though he's not having anything. It gets very complicated and sticky. So with this one, I say, how many of you look forward to living in poverty? Raise your hand. No hands go up, and I say, some people say, well, what's poverty? say, Daddy, I'm hungry. And the guy says, shut up, son, so am I. That's poverty. We think we live in poverty because we don't have Nikes or Vans or something like this, But actually, poverty means you can barely pay the rent or put food on the table. Those who live in poverty, those who want to avoid living in poverty, graduate from high school. Nowadays, you need a college education, but at least graduate from high school. Get yourself a full-time job as quickly as possible. I say work in high school, even if you have to do volunteer work, because you get a resume. Do you know, I talked to a lot of business owners, and they said, if I have an applicant who said they worked at McDonald's, they go near the top of the stack, because McDonald's does training. They're training for managers. Wait until you're 21 and married before having children. I think that's great advice. Boy, am I glad I didn't have babies at 21. So so people who followed these rules, only 2% are lived in poverty anyway. And again, you don't see drug addiction, you don't see any criminality. It's just those 3 points that, if you want to avoid poverty, do that. So those who followed those rules, they did those things, 2% did end up in poverty. But look at 74% of the poor that we have in America did not follow these rules. They dropped out of high school, they didn't get a full-time job, and they started having babies ASAP. So it's something at least to examine, and people are not looking at this. This is the most common causes of poverty. You can look anywhere you want, and even if I know people talk about race now, but look at where the highest rate of high school dropouts and people who are having children out of wedlock because they're given false information about having babies. They're being taken advantage of. So it's something at least to look at for people who want to be successful in life. So stages of intimacy and love. Intimacy and love should not be like fast food, that it just happens. It actually, for healthy and unhealthy, it goes through stages. First, you have parents, then you have parents who have children. Let's see what this says. It says, we're all born from a sexual union of our parents. Hopefully, they were able to give us mature parental love. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Hopefully, most of the time it does, that we needed to grow up in a good way. As we get older, we branch out in our relationships. We have friends, we have brothers and sisters, and we learn how to share. And but our love is not so selfless. It's often, I'll do what you want if you do what I want. It's kind of more like that while you're growing up, right? So, but we're growing and we start to deal with feelings of attraction and infatuation, which is preparation for the next stage. So what could happen if a couple has sex just because they feel attracted or infatuated? They have children and they're immature because they never learned how to give parental love to children. So you have two immature individuals having sex and then giving birth to children. And if the couple matures their love and makes a marital promise, see, this is immature parents, but if they want lasting love, they try to mature themselves and they make a marital promise. That means in morning sickness and in health, until death was part, you belong to me, I belong to you. And I'm not going to break that promise for anybody. And so whether their relationship will succeed and last depends a lot on if the two have matured their connected love. That means they're not making a marital promise at age 12 or 13. They went through the rigors of growing up, regulating their emotions, not having sex at this time. So then based on that marital promise, they were mature enough to make that lifelong commitment. And based on that union, then they become parents. It's premeditated. Because I feel sorry when I see these programs where even they had a child and then they thought, well, we should get married. That's when I was growing up, they called it a shotgun wedding. And that's not a good foundation for a marriage either. I mean, it's nice if it works, but I know a lot of times the guy will use it as an excuse to cheat or get out of the marriage, saying, hey, I had to get married. I had a lot of guys say that. I had to get married because we were, she goes, well, guess what? It was your sperm that got her pregnant. You had a little bit to do with that. So based on the marital promise, you become parents. You can give mature love to your children, and then they're able to feel secure in the relationship. And if the woman becomes pregnant, doesn't marriage make it clear that the man will support the baby? Like he might be a little surprised, but he doesn't call it an accident. He calls it a surprise when he's married. So it's kind of cute. So different types of relationships. I'm so sorry. I'm so unprepared. Hang on. Oops, this is Spanish. Sorry. English. So hopefully more of you, I only had, I think 4 of you that got the books. They're free. You just have to give me your address. But I also have this in Spanish too. So with the Love Smarts Handbook, I think that's the different types of relationships. Oh, activity 1. I love this. I do it a little different than other people do, but this is the one. It's hard to see. But you're first attracted. What are the qualities? There's 5 lines there. You ask them, when somebody feels attracted to somebody, I don't even say when you feel attracted because it's too confrontational for them. When somebody your age feels attracted, what do they usually get attracted to? And the boys will always say, can I say booty? I said, yes, you can put booty. They always put booty. They have booty infatuation in my neighborhood, so I don't know what it is. And they'll say, pretty eyes, nice butt, big feet, nice clothes. It's all external. You're attracted, right? How about when you're infatuated? Well, a lot of times the attraction list is the same as the infatuation list. To me, that's okay because infatuation is nothing to brag about either. But infatuation usually is a little more emotional, but a lot of kids do put the same for both. Now you really have strong emotions. You're infatuated. Now, what qualities would you look for in a husband or wife? Well, I want to tell you, that's doing a 360. They totally, without exception, they totally turn around. And they never even say, has to have a lot of money, has to be beautiful or sexy, like almost never, like 0.001%. They'll usually say, good job, nice to their parents, responsible, honest. They'll say, 6th graders even, they'll say this. So I said, how many of you want to be happy and successful in love? All the hands go up. I says, well, first of all, people who are happy and successful in love, they do not marry somebody because they're really attracted to them. It doesn't mean they're looking for ugly people, but the attraction, and just because they're infatuated, they have strong emotional feelings. Either they say, even to date somebody, just to go out, first of all, they wait till they're at least 18. Second of all, they don't date somebody because they're attracted or infatuated. They don't even date or go out. They call it going out with somebody unless they have the husband or wife material. Why waste my time, get an STD, have a child, have a broken heart with these losers, I'm more likely to be happy, even with going out with somebody, if they have this level of maturity, somebody that has the qualities. And don't you think that's going to make somebody more selective? Why go out with all these people, have your emotions all fooled with? That's why I feel nowadays too, because women can have the same income as men, they really can. It should be Dutch treat, pay your own way. Don't, because a lot of times the male feels he's investing by paying for the date, and I don't like that. Maybe after this real relationship, he's actually courting them, maybe, but it saves a lot of problems. But what do you think about that workshop? What do you think about that workbook activity? You can unmute yourself. Anybody have any ideas? No? Okay.
Which activity was it again? I'm
The one
sorry.
we just did, where people, the point was that people, instead of going out and dating, looking for the right one, like as a kid, they wait till they're at least 18, but they don't date somebody just because they're physically attractive or they're infatuated. They don't even go out or date somebody unless they have the qualities of somebody they'd want to marry. In other words, they're responsible, mature, good decision makers. Maybe they have a job. What do you think about that? Basing it not just on the emotions or the attraction, but rather something more substantial.
Obviously, very good.
Yeah, all of us can reflect on our own lives. Oh, if only I had done that. Boy, that would have been, because again, the romance junkie wants the thrill. Attraction, it's a thrill. It's feeding, it's a junkie activity, romance junkie, even though they aren't thinking of romance. Infatuation, it's still, you're getting a buzz, you're getting a high, right? But you're learning to regulate your emotions, you're regulating your judgment, you're actually taking time to get to know somebody. And so, you know, sometimes people are afraid, oh, I don't want them to get away. Well, if they're a good person, you know, they're going to want to pursue you know, the relationship as well. Keep it like, just be a normal person. People are starved just to be around a normal person, that they don't have to put a big show on. They don't have to entertain them every 2 minutes. It helps you really decide, you know, if you just being yourself, you should be able to be yourself from the very beginning. Otherwise, it's just not a good relationship match. This one I really liked because
I'd like to comment about the that workbook activity we just covered.
yeah,
I think it's a great idea, because if they just hear it, they may not receive it. Oh, you know, they just don't want us to look for their beauty, etc. But when it put in their hands, yeah, they look at the beauty and infatuation, they get it. But then you introduce what's really material, they start thinking, even themselves, what they said. So now they start thinking a little bit more wisely, because they all recognize 1 and 2 are real. But then they, and because this is in light of helping them be mature in many areas. So I think, and it's because their own thought and their own feedback, they take it more as their own, as opposed to, you know, oh, someone saying you don't only look for looks. So I think it's really very powerful and effective, because it's their own kind of, they get engaged. So it's because they take more ownership.
you really nailed it, because they only have emotions, they don't have reality. And when they're doing this, now they're actually dealing with reality, because they think relationships suck, you know, I'm gonna use them before they use me, or I'm gonna leave them before they leave me. I mean, all these horrible, I mean, kids, they have these ideas already because they've been so hurt. But if they could just slow down and really see the reality, this is, and all of us, we brought this up before, when it comes to looks and attraction, how many of us were with somebody we're not attracted to at all, but then we see, wow, they have such a good character. Oh my gosh, they have such a good viewpoint on life. And all of a sudden they start looking so handsome or beautiful, because you feel more attracted, but it's more of something of substance. And that's what they don't realize. When you have a good, healthy relationship, then you feel the strong attraction based on something real. You feel feelings of infatuation. You get excited about that person you married, but it's based on substance rather than a fantasy or being a romance junkie. So this is also very fascinating. This, we call it our house of love. And basically, to explain the elements that are needed to actually make a mature love that'll last. That's always the problem, because in the beginning, you know, when we're really infatuated, we think it's love. It seems effortless until it ends suddenly, you know. So psychologists have developed a model of love that's kind of like a house. So the four walls of the house are intimacy, and that means, you know, your ability to communicate your thoughts, your feelings, your hopes, and your ideals. That's real intimacy. It's not just two naked people looking at each other. Then the other wall is a commitment, and it's the commitment's kind of like the roof of the house, you know, like when the rain and storm, if you just have, say you just have the four walls, the house can implode, you know. So the commitment is what, when some hot chick walks by, you know, some handsome dude with muscles and a six-pack, your commitment's what keeps you, you know, focused more on your house of love. So the other wall, of course, is passion or attraction to each other. Then four, the foundation is the shared values. And I would say the shared values should be the first thing that happens. Because if you don't have, you know, a guy might be, you know, he just wants to be that one person for the rest of his life. But then the person he ends up marrying feels they want to have an open field, open-ended relationship. They think that's, I'm from California, they think that's a mature relationship, having an open-ended relationship. We trust and love each other so much. Yeah, they can have sex with someone. Well, what? They make it sound so great. It's not in practice. So the media often emphasizes just one of these, like passion. You know, you got to have a lot of passion and spice it up a little bit, you know, in their portrayal of love relationships. Like even in the movies, they kiss and make out and everything, but they never talk about the lifelong relationship, you know. It's just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So you might get a little wet or cold in the when the snow and the sleet comes, as they do in every relationship, you know. But if you have a commitment, it keeps that out. Passion can be so exciting, but if you don't have the other three walls of intimacy, commitment, and compatibility, do you really think that can last? It's just built on the immediate buzz. It's not something that was passion and intimacy. People nowadays, they don't believe. They feel like, oh, after you get used to each other, it's boring. Yeah, because you haven't taken care of your garden. That's a big problem. So when you've developed your intimacy and passion based on your shared values, based on your commitment, that can be very sexy and very nice. And then instead of this kind of a relationship that romance junkies get hooked up to, always coming back that our relationship, even with parents, they need to realize more important than your relationship with your children is your relationship with each other. Married parents, your relationship with each other is more important than your relationship with your boss, more important than your relationship with your children. You know, for people who believe in God, of course, God should be the foundation of that, you know, but even if you're a non-believer, you can still have a strong foundation, you know, but basically knowing that my relationship with my spouse is the most important. Then I can be a great parent for my children because we're shoulder to shoulder looking in the same direction, you know, so it's very serious. So a lot of people are into this soulmate marriage. Compared to early generations, marriage today is less about dividing up economic and domestic duties, and it's more about shared interests, mutual happiness. That can be good too, you know, but it tends to be kind of self-centered. It's not shared interests like I'm really interested in what you're interested. It's more like I need you to be interested in my stuff, right? So couples today have far higher expectations of marriage, which is kind of sad. I'm trying to drill into young people. What do you bring to the table? You're always looking what somebody else is going to do for you. what kind of person they'll be. How about you? What do you have to offer? Because you could meet the right person, the ideal person, but you haven't become an ideal person yourself. So you don't really offer that to somebody who's really prepared themselves. So what happens when Mr. or Miss Perfect seems less than perfect, you know? So it's kind of an interesting thing when we have too high, the couples who have to make more effort to maintain feelings that were felt before almost, you know, effortlessly, you know. So like when you're just used to that infatuation level, it was effortless, but it didn't last. You have to remember it didn't last. People will compare it. So now you have to invest more, but it'll be a deeper love. So again, we did the most comprehensive U.S. sex survey. Who was having the best sex? Remember, that was in Time magazine. It was fascinating. Said married couples have sex more often and enjoy it more. 9 out of 10 married people said they were very satisfied with their sex life. Those with more than one sexual partner in the last year were the least emotionally satisfied. And again, I've had seniors in high school say, yeah, sometimes I'm thinking about a person day and night, but once we kick it, we have sex, I'm ready to move to the next. And they're disappointed in themselves. Why do I feel this way? Well, and then this is a perfect program to explain all that. Also, you know, with the end notes that you have at the back of each of your scripts, and you'll see it on the slide, I invite you to look at the research. It's not that hard to read, and a lot of time it's summarized. You can skim down and find these, educate yourself so you know you're standing on something rock solid. And don't be, honestly, I find very few people ask questions. I was always worried people are going to ask me questions I have no answers for. And I found all the answers, really, all the answers that I've ever been asked, I found in the program. I might get asked something in part 2 that's not in the program, but it was answered in part 4 or 5. So I read all of them. Married women are more sexually fulfilled. Married women are more likely to report that sex makes them feel loved, wanted, and taken care of. They're less likely to report that sex made them feel anxious, scared, or guilty. Because a lot of times they feel if I don't put out, then they're going to leave me. If I don't have sex with them or do this with them, you know, I've had young people tell me that a kiss on the lips was more intimacy than going down on somebody and doing oral sex. I'll repeat that. Young people, even in middle school, 7th and 8th graders, saying, mostly high school, a kiss on the lips has a higher degree of intimacy than even going down and doing oral sex. Oral sex is almost like shaking hands now. It's very weird. So also sex is, I'm going to keep track of my time. Okay, good. Sex is more than physical. Sex has a social meaning. Sex within a hookup, that means you're just hooking up for the night and not tomorrow. Sex within a hookup has a vastly different meaning from sex within a committed relationship. It's not just about my orgasm. It's really an expression of your love for that other person. So instead of the orgasm lasting a few seconds or maybe a couple of minutes, it might last for hours or even days. You just feel, even every time you think of that person, you feel happy. Whereas when it's just outside, it was just to get off and just have your orgasm, whether male or female. That's why the feeling, there was no emotional attachment. There's not a commitment. We really are different from the animal kingdom. And even within the animal kingdom, there's animals that mate for life. But with human beings, we're really a higher evolved level than goldfish. So those who waited until marriage won't know what to do. That's what every young, especially boy, what their fear is, what science says. Men who marry as virgins, they never had sexual intercourse at least, 37% less likely to divorce. A study conducted in 4 different countries, so you're going beyond culture, right? The earlier young men initiated premarital sex, sex before marriage, and the more partners they had, the more likely to be unfaithful in marriage. To me, this is a big no-brainer. You sexually condition your brain during those formative years while your brain has not developed. It's developing through behaviors you see modeled before you in your own experiences. This becomes your norm. And then, you know, you're bored with the marriage. You think it's your partner, but actually the reality, the problem is you. You sexually condition yourself to think with this instead of this. So that's all you do. And those people that do hippity hop all over the place, they get outraged if somebody cheats on them because they feel, what's the matter? I wasn't good enough in bed for you. They feel it's personal assault because that's how they relate. You know, it's so shallow, and they're creating their own unhappiness, but they're too busy pointing at other people. And it's very sad. And we have too many children paying the price because of these short-term relationship. We're going to finish on this one. Do you need sexual experience before marriage? What science says, women who marry as virgins, 24% less likely to divorce. I think that's huge. And this landmark study, 6,500 married women between 1970 and 1995 said premarital sex with just one partner other than their husband raised the risk of divorce 3 times higher. And you can just look at what was happening during this time. The divorce rate skyrocketed because that is what people were doing. They were encouraged to do. That's what the hippies, and people can say, well, this is really old. Well, the problem is we haven't had any research that's changed this. And we haven't had any a lot of research on this program, on this issue. So this was actually research that was published in 2003. So it's quite substantial. And I think even you can look around you and you can see this for yourself. It hasn't changed. The fact is what it is. You don't see somebody, very rarely do you see somebody that was very sexually active, then got married, you know, with many partners, then got married and stayed married with that one for the rest of their life and never cheated. It's pretty rare. That's why the divorce rate went up. More sexual partners, more divorce, and more children out of wedlock. So this last slide for real is living together is not marriage preparation. When I was a young adult, they said, just live together so you can see if it's going to work. That's what everybody said. They thought they're so smart. You're 19, 20, and 21, and you're saying live with people. Like, what do you never, before this, people never lived together like that. Like, what, are you a manhole or something? They have less happy marriage. They have 100% higher risk of divorce if they live together before marriage, higher rates of alcohol and drug abuse, and the rate of depression is more than 3 times higher than amongst married couples. Now, the only time that this is not as true, if the people were publicly engaged before they moved in together, then this is not as true. It could still happen, but it's not as true. But if they no engagement or anything. And a lot of times I saw this happen when we had a big economic collapse. I don't know, it was 2010 or whatever. And 2 people I knew personally, they were going to get married. They bought a house together because they had the opportunity. Then the economic collapse came and they ended up hating each other, but they couldn't leave because they couldn't sell the house. So she was in one half, he was in the other. And I think he finally bought her out and they split up, but they were stuck like that, you know, so it's just something. So we're going to end today. Usually this is only supposed to take 2, and I'm sorry, because I know originally it was supposed to be just give an overview, but I just don't feel in this training it's enough. I am going rather quickly, but we're kind of at this pace. No, I would say normally when I give this, I take twice as long. So I'm not overly fast. I am speaking quickly to basically give you an idea of many different scenarios that happen. But basically that's it. We're still, let's see what slide we're on. Okay, living together. Oh yeah. Okay, so we're on slide 40 and slide. Okay, 68. So we're on slide 40 and there's 68 slides. And we'll go a little quicker in the next one. I should be able, I hope to finish. We did 23 slides during this session. Does anybody have any questions or? Comments?
No,
Flashbacks?
it's very interesting.
Does it, I mean, for me, it made light bulbs go off. Like I could solve my own problems. A lot of this stuff was healing for me because I could understand what happened. And it's not like, oh, how could I be so stupid? How would you know if you didn't see this information? This is not like logical. We feel our feelings are reality and logical. You know, and then we become romance junkies. We want that fix and we don't care what science says, you know. But this is what it is how to create lasting love. And you need a partner that's willing to work on it with you and not give up. You know, learning to apologize and forgive and all those things, you know, people talk about but don't practice.
Linda, I have a question about the 100% higher risk of divorce. Does that mean anybody who lived together and then got married, they're doomed for divorce?
Basically, like if they're not pre-engaged, if they're publicly engaged beforehand, then this is not true. It can still happen. It's not that high of a rate at all. But if they're not talking about marriage, they're just, let's live together. Let's shack up, see how the relationship goes. Or they're just saying, hey, let's live together. A lot of people fear divorce, you know. They fear marriage. They fear marriage the most. But yeah, basically it's almost completely doomed, yes. Just like if you don't live with each other, you're just having sex, basically your relation's probably doomed. And either you'll break up, find somebody else, or you'll end up getting married or living together, and then it breaks up. Why do you think like we have over 50% divorce rate? I think it's 51% now. And that happened from the 60s and 70s when the free sex and all that stuff came in. And then we got HIV and AIDS. We didn't used to have 10,000 teenagers a day get an STD. So, you know, it's almost like a physical manifestation of, you know, we're not doing something right. So I don't know if that answers your question, but less happy marriages and 100% higher risk of divorce. And it's not just the sex. I think it's all that goes into it. You could not regulate your feelings. You could not say it's really not good for the relationship if we're having sex when we don't have a commitment. Because what if there's a child? Like, I'm not pro-life or pro-abortion, to be honest with you. I'm into prevention, and that doesn't mean with condoms. Because I'm also thinking about the emotional aspect. Will a condom protect, say, a man's heart if the person dumps them for a better deal? You know, they call it safe sex, wear protection. So same thing. So with it's not just the act of sex, it's their decision-making, their mindset, how they value the person in relationships. But if people, when I go to schools, none of them have ever heard of the word abstinence. I'm glad we don't use that anymore. It's sexual risk avoidance, which is more appropriate. And even in the Center for Disease Control, they talk about abstinence is the only 100% way to avoid STDs and unwanted pregnancy. But that's all they say. They don't talk about character development, and it's a lot more difficult than just waving a magic wand.
Yeah, Linda, I raised my hand there.
Mhm.
The top thing says less happy marriages, 100% higher risk of divorce. Wouldn't that mean like living together versus not living together? So it could be like 20%, but it would then be 40%. Because
Yeah,
that would be 100% higher risk.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it might
So
not
higher risk. It doesn't say 100% get a divorce.
Right, it's 100%
Higher risk, yes,
So if
correct.
it was 20%, then it could be 40%. Is that?
Yeah,
what this
more
means?
like that. Mhm.
Okay.
And just look around us. Why do marriages fail? And And what did they do before? Were they dating many people, having sex with a few people? Yes, yes, yes. So, and did they really take the vows? Like, recently my daughter had her wedding vows on Monday. She's going to have like the fancy marriage. She had the marriage on Monday. She's going to have the fancy wedding in September. And they they wrote their own vows to say to each other. And I knew that some of it was how they feel now. And part of it was, this is something we want to grow into. And the minister said, and he does tons of marriages, tons, all over New Jersey, New York, everywhere. He says less than 10% of his couples write their own vows. That's interesting. They just Google it on the internet. Just like they just Googled on the internet to find each other, Kids don't know how to date anymore. They don't even call it dating. They used to call it dating, then hooking up, then cuffing. Does that mean handcuffs? I don't know. There's no word for dating in the young person's vocabulary now. And just like sex, it's all derogatory terms: hitting it, busting it, kicking it, smashing it, tapping it, knocking my boots. They don't really say I want to make love to you, maybe in a song. So yeah, do you understand? It's a whole umbrella of things that we're talking about. It's not just sexual intercourse. It's decision-making, the mindset, how you respect a relationship, respect the person enough to not want to have, you want to have sex, but you don't want to because you really love this person. You don't want to jeopardize their feelings and emotions and future. And a baby can always happen. Are you ready? If you're ready to have a child, you should both go speak to her father. We're going to have sex, and if we have a baby, you'll be a grandfather. Aren't you happy? What do you think his father's going to do? What do you think, Mr. Khan, if your daughter comes up to you, she's 15 years old, and says, "Oh, Daddy, guess what? I really love this boy, and we're going to have sex, but don't worry, we're going to wear condoms." You're going to say, "Hey, you have my blessing"?
No,
Probably
not at
not.
all.
Said, bring the boy by. We need to have a little talk in the backyard with my shovel.
Yeah, I mean, in today's world, this statement, living together, not preparation for marriage. If you introduce that single statement to all the college campuses, we could do a survey. How many people believe living together is good preparation for marriage or is not, A or B?
Hello.
It would be huge that they would say living together is good preparation for marriage.
Absolutely.
Probably, I would say probably 80-20 at least,
90%.
maybe 90%. So
Yeah.
we can nail this, as we teach this, and they can, and of course the fact is clear, it's not, but they're not looking at the facts, they're looking at the false facts. And, the movies, I mean,
It's his
movies,
feelings.
obviously, the whole movies, everything that's been sold really since the 60s on, and even before, but especially since the 60s, has been training this to violate this true statement. Oh, this is a huge, when we started American Clergy and Leaders Alliance, that was the point, to bring God's true love ethics back to families and communities. That's why we started it. This one statement, if we could educate this, and more would, and they would not do that. Of course, everything else is important too, but this one is a real killer, because when they get older, even if they made a mistake, they feel they love each other. The next step is move in. But if they understand this is bad preparation for marriage, of course you backed it off, earlier. But anyway, I just found that's a very seminal statement, that if we can begin to change that, we could even get a bumper sticker. Someone since said,
Great idea. Even having kids having contests to develop those bumper stickers, and in our organization for presenters and club leaders, they have to sign and agree that they're going to model and live the principles that we're talking about. You cannot have multiple partners or be shacking up with somebody and be in our program, because we need to model to the young people that if you want a healthy relationship, this is the roadmap. And it's and I used to be out there. I was a big troublemaker, you know, and thank goodness when I was 25, I got my act together, and I would not be alive today, and I would be very depressed. I already know it. I would be very depressed, doing whatever I want, whenever I want. I would not know who I am as a person. You know, when you have values, when you respect yourself and you respect others, people are going to respect you more. You know, it's not when you know, just because you had sex with many people and things like this, and or you know, you look at some of the stars. I mean, people, like I tell the females, you know, when you dress a certain way, like Cardi B and Stallion and all that, they may want to do you. They just don't want to marry you, because they think if you're like that, then how do I know what you're doing when I'm at work? You know, yeah, it's so true. And we're talking about depression, alcoholism, drugs, and how about the children? You know, from people who are just living together. Now they don't, the father's not in their life anymore. So it's and I have young people, they think, well, their mother's supposed to take care of their children for them. That's what mothers are for, they say. Yeah, it's a whole attitude, and nobody's happy. Nobody's happy. It's sad. So anyway, I
Emma has
hope.
a question.
Hey,
Yeah, I don't
Linda.
see hands. I'm sorry. What?
Hi, Linda. It's Dejo.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I just got out of work and I just came at like the tail end of your talk. Yeah, just thank you. I'm so glad that I got to pop on at the last of it. But yeah, I was just curious, like, what do you say to people who or where do you direct them to go check out, you know, people who say things like, oh, marriage is just a piece of paper. It's not really like, it's about our love. It's about us being together, like us, you know, really learning about each other. And like, you know, it doesn't really matter if we get married, like it's just a piece of paper. Like, what do you say to those people?
That's exactly what all the research that I have been presenting in part 4 goes to. I don't know if I sent out part 4 script to everybody. I think I did. But if you did not get it, let me know. And the script shows the research and it shows the documentation. So what I had mentioned to participants is I actually read the research that Dr. Panzer uses in the show, because I don't want to be caught not having an answer. It's totally okay not to have an answer. Say, that's a great question, I'm going to get back to you. And I either need to get the facts to show them, physically show them, or I need to reread the facts to get more confidence. But I rarely find that happens because nobody's thinking about this. Everybody, because when I was a young adult, do you say Dejo or Daijo? I can't remember how you say your name.
Dejo.
Dejo. Marriage is just a piece of paper. And to me, that made sense. Oh yeah, that sounds very mature. That sounds very cosmic. But where's the lasting relationship? And say, yeah, you always think this won't happen to you. I can do all the drugs I want. I'm not going to get addicted. Marijuana is not addictive. You know, everybody thinks that. All the people who are dead right now are dying from overdoses. They thought it would never happen to them. So it's like sometimes we can look at, like, I don't need to get drunk and drive my car and smash it into a tree to understand what that feels like. I can learn from the mistakes of other people. And this is what our program does, is it shows you the vast majority, this is what happened. My goal, our basic goal is if we can just get people to pause or stop and think, we feel highly successful. Just that they stopped to think before they acted. And I've had so many young people tell me that's exactly what they did. And, you know, the other thing is, how do you have a lasting relationship? It was my generation who brought up the living together, marriage is just a piece of paper and all of this stuff. And divorces went through the roof. Children out of wedlock was like maybe 5% at the most, and now it's close to 50%, and it's mostly women. It's not the teenage girls as much anymore. That went down drastically. So, and some people are going to mess up their lives no matter what anybody says or does. Like, we also have a graph, I think later in the program, I have like 30% of the people, they're going to be successful no matter what anybody says or does. Doesn't matter what town they grew up in, they're going to be successful. 30%, they're going to mess up their lives no matter what anybody says or does. They are doomed for destruction. And some will learn from their lessons, a lot don't. But then there's a whole group, 70%, they can go either way. And you see it today. The media has them going whichever way they want. It's like whoever gives the most information, because their brains are not equipped to think of the long-term consequences. They only think of the immediate buzz and feel now. Say, well, why don't marriages last? Why don't relationships last? Because many don't. And I can prove that because how many people had more than one sex partner in their life? Pretty much everybody. That's why we even talk about secondary virginity. You know, so that's basically, it depends. If they're, you know, determined to screw up their lives. I personally don't know one single person, and I'm 70. I do not know one person who just as a young person just had sex with this person, ended up just living with this person, and they went on to have great families, happiness, and la la land. I don't know one. And I think that says a lot. Just, you can even ask them, well, who do you know that's done that? Like, say they've been together as a couple without cheating, you know, for about 40 years. That's pretty reasonable. If they say if they met in college, they're 20, 40 years, they're 60. I'm 70. I don't feel 100 years old. I don't look 100 years old. I don't act 100 years old. You know, so you understand, like, some people like to ask questions. Socrates, he used to do that. He would continually ask questions. In fact, there's a list of his questions. And just by asking questions, people would have the conclusion that he wanted them to. Because people are not thinking, they're thinking the moment, oh, we will do this. We'll all resolve. We'll always kiss and hold hands. We'll always love each other. Yeah, you haven't faced anything yet. There's a very popular psychologist. He refuses to counsel couples if they've not had a fight yet, because he wants to see, how do you resolve your conflicts? What do you fight about? So he says, come back and see me in a year. You know, so you can even ask them, what do you do when you fight? What do you usually fight about? How do you resolve your conflict? What do you do? And some people, I'll say, well, that's nice, good luck. And then I go on to people who actually want answers. I don't know, does that help you at all?
No, thank you. That was an awesome answer.
Oh, great, thank you.
Covered all bases.
I never know. See, this is where questioning hones our skills, and everything I told you came from the program. Because on my own, I'm not a counselor. I never want to be a counselor, but I really care about people being happy and having a healthy life. And I don't see that. I see a lot of mental illness these days, a lot. And it's due to families. People are not connected. They're trying to connect internet or gangs or, you know, false identities. You know, so it's who are you? They don't know. In fact, when I stopped my foolishness, I finally found out who I was as a person. I never knew. I would look in the mirror and I couldn't tell what I looked like my whole growing up until I stopped the foolishness. So it's interesting. Usually, if you are doing the right thing, you attract people who are doing the right thing. So I think it's great if they can do it, but they're living in this idealistic, which is a very immature brain set. Oh, we'll be able to do this. I've known plenty of people like that. They're no longer together. None of the people I knew, not one of them that I knew back in the day when I was in high school, are together. So it's and oftentimes when I say, oftentimes I see what I consider a real relationship, even in high school, But once they have sex, it becomes a stake that drives them apart. And everybody in the class will say, yeah, once they had sex, they start fighting, arguing, you know, it's very interesting. All the insecurities come up. Why are they looking at this other person? Oh, you don't want to be with me today? Why, you know? So it's kind of interesting.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you for asking. Anybody else? Oh, Richko-san, I want to send you the package. You have to email me your address.
Oh,
You know,
I thought I sent my email, but
I didn't see. I only saw that you wanted the package, but when I looked at the email, I couldn't see an address. Send it to me again. I'll send it right away.
okay.
Yeah, so those who ask, I give them the book and some other stuff. And then we're gonna, and then those who want the curriculum, means you really want to become certified. You get the curriculum book, which is a whole thing on character education, which is great. It's not the teacher's manual with how to do things, but I think a lot of it, you can get a lot out of. Oh, and the real deal. Go ahead.
I thought I have a question, but also one kind of comment that maybe kind of a couple people asked about 100% more divorce rate thing. It's kind of technical because I'm Japanese or reason. Like if married couple, if married couple, what was that section? If 1 in 1,000 couple divorce, then not committed couples like 100,000. That means 100% more, or I kind of take
100% more likely.
Likely, yeah.
I don't know how to, you know, with Japanese, I don't know how to say it, but you understand, right? So it's just like Emerald was saying, you know, more likely, like if divorce is 10, then this would be, you're just more likely to get the divorce. So it's not good.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, 100% more likely. If it's even 50% more likely, to me, that's a lot, something I want to pay attention. 10%, oh, it's okay, live and learn, you know. But right now, relationships are very fragile. And why is there so much drug use? I believe it's because of relationship. People they want to feel a connection. When I'm high, we're all high together. Of course we feel connected, but after a while, that drug doesn't work. It takes away your natural ability that you were born with to feel happiness and connected. How do you feel connected? Is by serving others, by giving to others, helping others, do tutoring. Then you feel, I feel like I'm an introvert. I would rather live in a cave than speaking to people. My first audiences were 650 people in a foreign country in Russia. And I feel so connected with people now. I'm just always think, I'll be on the street and the cops are directing traffic for construction. I roll down my windows and I can see them get a little tense. I smile and I go, thank you for everything you do. I say that to the construction guys in the middle of the highway. They're blocking traffic. Everybody's giving the middle finger. I say, thank you for all that you do. The people are stocking the shelves in the grocery store. It's like the lowest of job. I says, thank you. You're doing a great job. I have them thank me. I write on the surveys, their names and everything on my receipt. I give it to the managers. How wonderful. I feel good about myself. Nobody say anything to me. It doesn't matter. I feel good. I feel happy. And I'm not taking no drugs. I don't want to miss a thing. You know, even sometimes I say, oh, I need a glass of wine. I never get around to drinking it. I'm too busy. I'm having fun. So, you know, it's, and a lot of people my age, they're very unhappy. They don't feel connected because they're not giving. You know, so
I wanted to comment. I felt really good key point is my relationship with the spouse is much more important than relationship with the children. That's really important so that children can learn how, children watches how parents relate to each other. Even they say, parents say, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. But the parents are not together in a way.
Yeah, they're not a team.
Team. Then children don't respect the words. So
They see that.
mhm.
Also, our attitude. What is the tone of voice that I use when I'm speaking to my spouse? Especially women. Men can be more direct and it's understood. But women, we can just demasculate a man immediately with our words, especially in front of children. You know, I remember this promises I can keep, and these researchers went into the low-income neighborhoods, and this one woman, she's Latina, and she made her children sit on the couch. Her husband came home and gave her the paycheck, says, children, I want you to see this. This is your father's paycheck. Your father worked all week so hard for this. Your father worked so hard. This is his paycheck he's giving to you. So you have food, you have this and this. And so she said it with so much love, though, you know. And the kids, it just, because that's what they want to hear, that mommy loves daddy and daddy loves mommy. That's what they really want to hear. You know, too many people, they're childish. They think, oh, people will feel sorry for me or they'll respect me more if I say how terrible my life is because of this person. No, they don't respect you. No, you're right. I really feel that. And I just always felt that way. I just feel like I probably heard it in a workshop before, but it really rang true. If I really love my children, then most important is with my spouse. Am I loving and respecting that person? Taking care of them too, showing, oh, honey, can I get you some water? Can I get you a cold drink? You want some Gatorade? You know, ask them. Of course, they could get it themselves, but that's not the point. Little tiny acts of kindness. You know, the children, exactly what you're saying, they really see this. And yeah, if parents fight too much, the children feel their whole universe is being torn apart. Yeah, it's amazing. So I don't want to keep it too long. I can stay as long as you want. We can have a slumber party.
Linda, could you also send it to me? I thought I requested.
I thought I sent to you. Take-san, you never got an envelope from me?
No.
Oh, I sent.
Oh, really?
Oh, terrible. I'm going to send again. Absolutely, I did, because I had you written down.
Okay.
It's 117 Clay Ridge Way, Holly Springs, North Carolina, 27540.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
North Carolina. Oh, okay.
North Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah. 27540. Yeah, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
I sent it like 2 days after you sent me, because pretty much everybody did the same. Yeah, I hope everybody else. I sent to Vicky, Bergie, Linda Flores, and Sharon Barnett. Carol, did I send you something? Oh, she had to go already. I'll have to find out if I did Carol or not. I'll send again. I assume to send. I didn't get it back.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, it had my return address. It was a big envelope like that.
Really?
I'll send it again. No problem.
I'm sorry. Oh, gosh.
That's amazing. I should actually tell everybody, email me when you receive it, because I do keep the receipt. Taki-san. See, that's good. That's great. And then I'll send you the other stuff too, because I know you want send. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I have to get some more materials. Okay.
Just as we say goodbye, would you like to meet my bride?
Yeah.
Come closer. This is Marcy.
Oh, congratulations.
What's your name? What's her name?
Marcy Miller.
Marcy Miller. Where were you raised?
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago. My daddy's from Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, he was raised in the German section. Yeah,
Oh.
they played zithers and rolled back the carpets, and we went to the gyms there. There's a little like a German town there or something. Wonderful. Well, welcome aboard, my dear. So beautiful. How did you find this ugly man? I don't know. I don't understand.
Very
Very beautiful. When did you get married?
July 17th.
Really? Oh, newlyweds. How romantic. This is great. Well, you got a nice catch, dear.
I know it.
He's a good man. I'm sure you know that, but it's good to hear from other people.
Thank you. Yes, it
I've
is.
Yeah, I've
Everybody
seen,
loves him.
yeah, it's because people have seen him in difficult circumstances and he always brings a good victory and he cares about people in a very real way.
That's
Yeah.
what I felt when I met him.
Yeah. Well, you felt right, dear. It takes one to know one, I always say.
It was completely God guided, created beyond expectation. It was
Isn't that the best?
we met at a Patriot event in Tampa, Florida, with all
Great.
these patriots and Christians and prayers, and we went to the beach the second day for healing. And when the pastor said, because they asked for prayer, so Marcy just said, "What did you say?"
Well, I was explaining where I was in my life, and that I'm at a point in my life where I'm at kind of a crossroads where I know what I want in my life. And I was a little hesitant on being as honest because I liked him, but I didn't want to scare him off. I've never been married.
Ooh,
And so
great.
I said that, you know, I'm at a point in my life where I know that I really truly want to be married and have somebody in my life that I have that has the same values and that is a patriot and loves God. And it's been a challenge finding somebody that's on the same path as me. And 6 weeks before the event, I did a very heartfelt prayer to God saying that I don't want to do this alone. And if you truly want me to be alone, I just don't think you want me to be alone. It just doesn't seem right, you know? But my method of, in the past, of meeting people, the men I attracted in my life were not right for me, you know? And that I'm totally surrendering this to God. And I said, you have to choose the right man for me because obviously it's just not working what I've done in the past. And I'm going to trust you. You know what I desire. And you know, I believe you're going to bring somebody in my life that's going to be much better than I could ever imagine. So it was a complete surrender. So when I went in front of them, I said, what I just said, that I truly, you know, I'm at a point in my life, I worked for a company, my job ended a year ago because of COVID. My mother died 3 years ago. I stayed in Illinois for her. There's nothing keeping me, you know, and that I'm ready for true love. And so they looked at me and then they looked at David, who was standing next to me. And they said, well,
Then they asked me, and I've been struggling with this breathing issue with asthma. And she had shared, she's someone with medical intuitive. We were just sitting together at the event. And so they asked me and said, well, there's really two things. You know, I have this breathing issue. So then he said, okay, we have a doctor. He's going to pray over you guys. Brilliant, incredible doctor. And then I said, well, you know, I was married for 33 years and shockingly, because we're not equally yoked, you know, at the end of it, we're very close, but I feel God has really prepared someone for me. So, you know, I said that or something like that. So he said, he said, well,
he looked at us and he said, well, get it. What about you two?
Isn't
What's
that
going on?
funny?
He said, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And when he said that, all of a sudden, I felt the Holy Spirit very strongly,
Yes.
but I didn't want to say anything. And then they prayed for us.
Yeah.
And after they prayed for us, then we walked on the beach. We talked. You know, there was a almost like a connection that occurred even stronger after that. And so it was really beautiful. And then it just progressed. And then for 3 weeks, we prayed every day over the phone. We read the, what's it called?
Divine Principle.
The Divine Principle every night. And I told him he wanted to FaceTime, or I said, no, I don't want to do that. I really wanted to, I didn't want to worry about what do I look like? Do I have, do I look cute enough for this call? I really wanted to just focus on his heart and who he was as a person. And it was actually really a true blessing because I connected with him on a very deep heart level and soul level. And I felt the Holy Spirit so strongly. I mean, at times I cried several times because I could feel God's love so strongly coming through. It was really beautiful. And I've never experienced that in my whole life.
Yeah. It's the real deal.
I feel like it truly is. I really believe that God matched us. Mm-hmm. I really, truly believe it. And the man that looked at us saw it in that moment. Because when I first came to the event, I got there a little late. There was only one seat available in the front because I bought VIP tickets. I walked up to this woman and I said, excuse me, I'm kind of assertive. I said, is there anybody sitting here? And she looked at me and she kind of paused for a minute. And then she said, I'm holding this seat for a friend, but I told them that I can't hold it too long, so it's yours. So I sat down and I looked at her and I said, what's your name? She was very nice. And she said, my name is Marcy. Well, that's my name. So then we started talking and I found out she has a dog too. And her dog is Sophie. I have a Sophie dog. So then within a half an hour, we were laughing about that. I said, I've never met a Marcy that has a dog named Sophie ever. And she said the same thing. So after a half an hour, she looks at me and she goes, I can't sit here anymore. The noise is too loud. I got to leave and I'm going to go sit in the back. And I'm like, I kind of felt bad because she was so kind to me. I wanted to get to know her a little bit more.
When the expression son God is concerning Christ.
And so we exchanged information and she just disappeared. And we said, let's connect. I never saw her again the rest of the weekend. Then a couple hours later, I get a tap on my shoulder and it's David. And he says, is there anybody sitting over here? Turned around and he was with a friend.
Sharon. Sharon Burnett.
I just assumed they were married.
She's here.
Yeah, Sharon. And I said, no, you guys can sit there. And he sat next to me and I just thought they were married. So it was just a series of synchronicities that
coincidences.
I don't think there are any coincidences.
I don't think so either.
It was just a real strong, if I would have came and, 5 minutes later, that seat wouldn't have been in the front. Who knows? If God wanted me to meet David, I'm sure it would have happened, but the likeliness was slim.
Well, it's just like when it's God's will, we don't always just see it automatically. It's not like the heavens open and the dove comes down, So what you experienced, I'm sure, is very exactly what you think it is. It's divine
intervention. Even in my heart, I don't question it at all. And after listening to him and getting to know him better and studying the Divine Principle every night, I felt in my heart that God has planned this for me because I said to God with that prayer, I want to get to know you more. I want to find out what pleases you more. I want to know what I need to do to make you happy. And I said all these things in a very sincere prayer. And then I meet a man that is exactly that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I literally met a man that is teaching me on such a deep level about God and what pleases him.
Answering your prayer. Mm-hmm.
It is complete answer of my prayer.
And then you're such a good match for David, because who prays to God how can I make you happy? We always want God to be our cosmic butler, and here you're, it's like this, it's just finding each other is the miracle. It's amazing. But I think both of you have the ingredients for just really a great relationship, and you can really be, two people shoulder to shoulder looking in the same direction. How powerful is that? And you have the basic shared values and beliefs. What more do you need for?
Well, that's why I didn't marry anybody in the past. I've had a couple engagements and I didn't marry them because there wasn't that shared. And in my gut, I always felt like it was wrong. There's something missing. I did not have a good gut feeling.
You didn't want to settle. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. But, after a while, you start to think, have I been crazy?
Am I too picky?
Not picky. I mean, I had several people say to me, there's no perfect man, which was actually wrong information.
Yeah.
In that sense, I'm not saying nobody's perfect, but you know what I'm saying.
You wanted the basic ingredients,
I wanted more than basic, though. I needed a very deep, intimate love, and I wanted somebody that has a very strong spiritual foundation. And that's not, it is more uncommon than common.
Yeah, people have lost it. It didn't
Yeah,
used
and
to
I
be
felt like I
uncommon.
was always the one in that place, but I always had to bring it to the other person, but then they didn't really care.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was a priority.
Yeah, it's good that you didn't settle, though, because
It's funny because a couple months ago I had a conversation with my brother, and I actually said to him, I have not given up on love. And that was painful to say that when you don't have anybody in your life.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
But I really enjoyed your talk tonight. It was very
Oh,
good.
thank you.
I think this information is extremely important for everyone.
Everyone. Mhm. I
At
found that
any
too.
age, because people that are widowers or divorced look at this.
Yeah, I do
And-
senior citizens and people. I always say I do 6th grade until people no longer have a pulse.
I love it.
So I'm going to have to go
Thank you,
because I got to
everyone.
prepare for tomorrow. This was lovely. This was just the icing on the cake tonight.
Thank
So
you.
we are very happy. Very happy
we
for both
are.
of you. Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah. God bless you too. Welcome aboard.
Thank
And I
you.
feel
Thank
like
you,
you've always been
Cole,
here.
Takia, Sharon, Linda, Fergie.
Yeah.
Good
Emily.
night. Good night.
God bless
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations.
You take care.
Good night. That was so special. That was icing on the cake.
The
wasn't it?
testimony is very deep. So many. I mean, God is continuously creating miracles. I'm just like, I'm in awe and in dedication. As the second king said, you need a SWAT partner who'll go to war with you against, we're in World War III. So it's really, God is all there. So
Into your divine